In addition to being president of the Out and Equal Board, I'm also co-chair of Dell's Executive Advisory Board for Pride, and I have been for several years. Dell has a history of commitment to diversity and to the LGBT community. We are led from the top with the Global Diversity Council, chaired by our CEO, Michael Dell, with 5 of his direct reports. We are led from within with very active employee resource groups. Over the years, we've made a lot of progress. We have put in place many progressive policies and programs that have helped us achieve many milestones and gain a lot of recognition for our efforts, such as the 100% score on the Corporate Equality Index survey. We were one of 53 companies in 2003 to score 100 because of our commitment to our transgendered employees. And while we've made a lot of progress, it is a journey. And we have to strive and continue to strive to change our culture and achieve acceptance and inclusion for all, and in particular, our LGBT team members. This morning, Paul Bell and I are going to talk about that journey and our efforts. Paul serves as president of the Public and Large Enterprise Business Units at Dell. He leads the team that helps government, education, and healthcare organizations and corporate IT users make full use of technology to achieve their goals. Paul has been with Dell for 15 years. He has managed teams around the world. He was born in North Africa, and he worked with the Peace Corps in Tunisia early in his career. So his current leadership role at Dell is really complemented by his broad international experience and long-standing personal passion for public service. And Paul has a commitment and a history of commitment to diversity. I first heard about how great Paul was when he was head of Europe. Lisa Mink, who is now our Chief Diversity Officer, worked with him and told me several times what an impactful mentor he was for her. In fact, he has been a friend and a mentor to many in our company, especially women. So when I heard last year that Paul wanted to be the executive sponsor of Pride, I immediately recommitted to Pride. I had been on the board for several years and was thinking about rolling off, but what an opportunity, you know? And so I ran into Paul at a meeting. He said he needed my help, and of course, I was going to do that. I wouldn't miss the opportunity to work with him and our new board members, many of whom are here today. We have come together to learn and to make a difference. Please welcome Paul Bell. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. And can I add my welcome to all of you to joining us in our fair state of Texas. We are headquartered down in Austin, and our services business is headquartered right here in Dallas. So it's great to have you here in this Texas-sized ballroom and kick off another great day.
Great. So we're going to talk about Dell's journey and Dell's diversity efforts this morning. And so, Paul, the first question I have for you is around the fact that you actually volunteered to be our executive sponsor of Pride, and you've been involved in diversity at Dell for a long time. And I understand that there was a mentoring relationship with one of our Pride leaders, Fred Smith, and Fred's here today in the audience with us. But from that relationship, what motivated you to do this?
Yeah, it was a mentoring relationship, but not in the direction that people expected, because we had a program for our Pride members. If they wanted to get mentoring experience with senior executives, we would arrange that, and everybody who asked got that kind of relationship. And so it started out where I was expecting to be mentoring Fred in the ways that he was looking for, and my experience within ERGs had not included much with Pride. I just didn't know much about what was going on. So as we had several discussions, I just started turning the tables, and I was asking him all the questions. And what really struck me was the powerful stories he was telling me about the unfinished business that we had to do together around supporting our LGBT community in Dell. I had heard about our 8 years in a row of 100% score. I had seen our policies. From the outside, I was thinking, well, we must be doing everything pretty well here. And Fred's story was very powerful. He told me that as an African-American gay man, that he had lived through issues 10 to 20 years ago as an African-American that he felt, the good news was, he wasn't experiencing that in his life anymore, either in Austin as a community or Dell as a company, but that there were still issues that he was experiencing within Dell, examples of bias against gay people, a new boss that he had who didn't realize that he was gay, and was basically making homophobic remarks. And I said, well, how long ago was that? And it was quite current. And that upset me, and it made me realize that this is where we could make a difference if we came together.
And so from that, you're on the Global Diversity Council at Dell. And I think that's a very important group at Dell because it's chaired by Michael and 5 of you guys that are direct reports. And so from that, what did you take back to the Global Diversity Council? How did you take action, and what policies or issues did you raise?
One of the first things we did was realize that we're in a position to set policy, do some things that will help change the culture, but that we also have a job to do to listen and learn. And that led to us doing a rotation, if you will. We were all chairing or being the exec sponsor for one of our employee resource groups, and I'd worked with the women's group for a long time. I'd done some work with some of the others, but I came out of that experience and said, I want to work with the Pride team because I think we can make a difference. And as all of us sort of rotated, we said, let's use the experience, let's use our ears for a while and really try to listen and learn and bring back to the council for the New Year's agenda what things we all need to be working on.
Yeah. And so at Dell, last year we had a new program or series called Leadership Imperative where we engaged all of the employees at Dell as leaders, and this year we're doing it again. But this year it has a focus on our people strategy and our engagement and sort of how we should be behaving. And I know that you played a part in that, and you've led a couple of these talks at Dell. So what's been your experience with that? And
yeah, we were discussing how we could change norms of behavior and make clear to people that the kind of experience Fred had was unacceptable in the company. Well, what means do you use to communicate that? And this leadership imperative, as we call it, is a workshop we do once a year for managers for about half a day where we work through the sort of training, what we want them to do to be great leaders and inspiring leaders. So that's a good format. And we put in that discussion a section around unacceptable behaviors. And the core of it, as we started to think about it, was there's a lot of people just don't know. They don't know who in their community are LGBT members. They don't know necessarily what the norm should be. So we said, let's start from there and let's be very, very clear about it. So in the unacceptable behaviors discussion, it basically boils down and says, we as a company aren't trying to tell you what to believe. Part of acceptance of diversity is you can have the belief systems that you want to have, and when you come here you will be respected and you will be integrated into this company. But we can certainly tell you how to behave. And we are going to be very clear about what are unacceptable remarks, tone at the top, the kinds of things that actually work against creating a culture where everybody feels that they can bring their whole self to work. And I got to tell you, that phrase has been very powerful for me. I first heard it from our Pride group about bringing your whole self to work as a goal, and that makes sense for everyone, whatever community they're part of, so we can reinforce that.
Yeah. And so Paul, here today you're sitting here as a very strong ally for Pride at Dell and for the LGBT community. What advice would you have for those in the audience to take back to their companies to engage allies? Our allies are so important, and sometimes I think we just don't know how to ask or talk to them.
Well, I thought that mentoring construct was a good one because it put Fred and me together, so for a good reason, and we started a dialogue. And there's lots of ways that people can get together in these structures in companies, but I'd encourage those sorts of things. Get people talking with the senior executives and making sure that they're listening. I think it helps to start with the fact that, you know, I didn't even know a lot of the terminology. I didn't know where the frontier was of what had been accomplished and what needed to be done next. And I was frankly uncomfortable about it. So what helped me to have sort of a mentor, in this case with Fred, was to say, you know, I'm sort of afraid in these large groups just to start talking about it because I'm going to use the wrong terminology. You know, I didn't know the acronym around LGBT. I hadn't heard, you know, about the Human Rights Commission. I didn't know any of this stuff. And so you got to recognize that even though somebody might want to genuinely help and be an ally, there's a lot of education that they need. And I think you have to start those conversations.
Yeah. Well, great.